Representative Blake Farenthold, Republican of Texas, is the fourth member of Congress in 2 weeks whose careers have been felled by allegations of UAL misconduct. Joshua RobertsReuters Washington. Representative Blake Farenthold, a Texas Republican who settled a lurid UAL harassment claim with his former communications director for $84,000 and faced accusations from other aides that he ran a hostile workplace, announced Thursday that he will not run for re-election, saying the allegations have become a political distraction. He is the fourth lawmaker in 2 weeks to announce his eventual departure from Congress amid the swirl of UAL allegations, and the sixth this year. In a 5-minute-long video posted on his campaign's Facebook page, Mr. Farenthold denied the UAL harassment allegations from his former communications director, Lauren Green. But he admitted, with unusual candor, that he had run an unprofessional workplace and that his own temper sometimes got out of hand, describing himself as profoundly sorry for his conduct. "I'd never served in public office before. I had no idea how to run a congressional office, and as a result I allowed a workplace culture to take root in my office that was too permissive and decidedly unprofessional," Mr. Farenthold said. "It accommodated destructive gossip, offhand comments, off-color jokes," he went on, adding, "and I allowed the personal stress of the job to manifest itself in angry outbursts and too often a failure to treat people with the respect that they deserved. That was wrong." Mr. Farenthold is currently the subject of a House Ethics Committee investigation, and in addition to Ms. Green, 2 of his former press secretaries have come forward in recent days to describe a workplace culture that was more like a college fraternity house than a congressional office. Both said Mr. Farenthold had an explosive temper, berated them repeatedly, made wholly explicit jokes and engaged in casual UAL banter that set a tone followed by his underlings. Speaker Paul D. Ryan told reporters that he had spoken twice with Mr. Farenthold on Wednesday, and praised the congressman for agreeing to step aside. "I think he's making the right decision to retire," Mr. Ryan said. "There are news stories that are very disconcerting, but Mr. Farenthold's decision to finish out his term, rather than resign immediately, drew a sharp rebuke from Representative Nancy Pelosi, the House Democratic leader, who called the aide's accusations shocking and unacceptable. Ms. Pelosi also reiterated her call for Representative Ruben Kihuen, Democrat of Nevada, to resign after the Nevada Independent reported that a second woman accused him of unwanted UAL advances. Mr. Farenthold's announcement is only the latest. Last week, Representative John Conyers Jr., Democrat of Michigan, left amid claims he usually harassed his aides. Representative Trent Franks, Republican of Arizona, was pushed out by Mr. Ryan after an aide complained that he had offered to pay $5 million to carry his child as a surrogate. Senator Al Franken, Democrat of Minnesota, will quit over accusations of forcibly kissing one woman and of groping others during photo opportunities. Before them, Representative Tim Murphy, Republican of Pennsylvania, resigned after his mistress said he had pressured her to have an abortion, and Representative Joe Barton, Republican of Texas, announced his retirement after lewd photos of him appeared on the internet. Mr. Farenthold, alone among them, appeared to be a survivor. He insisted he had done nothing wrong, and promised to repay the $84,000 to the Treasury. Mr. Ryan had pointedly not called for his resignation, in noting that the nonpartisan Office of Congressional Ethics had investigated the allegations against him, and declined to forward them to the Ethics Committee. But as accusations against him piled up, it appeared untenable for him to continue. "Congress must work harder to hold ourselves to a higher standard," said Representative Steve Stivers of Ohio, the chairman of the National Republican Congressional Committee. There is still more work to be done. In her claim against him, the former communications director, Ms. Green, complained that Mr. Farenthold had told another of his aides that he was having UAL fantasies about her. She also complained that the congressman routinely drank to excess, so much so that aides who accompanied him to Capitol Hill functions would joke that they had to be on redhead patrol to keep him out of trouble. The former press secretaries to Mr. Farenthold, Elizabeth Peace and Michael Ricola, came forward this week with their own accounts. In an interview with the New York Times, Ms. Peace said women would discuss which male lobbyists had texted them pictures of their genitals, and both men and women would talk about strip clubs and whether certain Fox News anchors had breast implants. In a lengthy interview with CNN.com published on Wednesday night, Mr. Ricola said Mr. Farenthold was so abusive that he wound up seeking medical treatment for a stomach ailment, as well as psychological counseling. Mr. Farenthold, first elected in 2010, has long had a whiff of notoriety about him. During his first campaign, he was photographed wearing duck print pajamas and standing next to a scantily clad woman. In 2014, the same year that Ms. Green sued him, he announced that he was giving up an internet domain name, one that described a hugely explicit act that he had held since 1999, when he was in the business of buying such names on speculation. In the video released Thursday, Mr. Farenthold, who turned 56 this week, said that he and his family discussed his political future over the Thanksgiving break, and that all agreed he should run for another term because there is still work to be done. He said he expected a tough primary challenge but was looking forward to the campaign. "I welcomed it, so I could address some of the concerns and discuss ways I hope we could make America better for everyone," he said, adding, "I did not create the broken system we're working in, and I want to change it," but the renewed focus on his personal conduct made him reconsider. He said, "I understand why that this has become a political distraction and that I would be forced to engage in a month-long campaign for personal vindication." Mr. Farenthold added, concluding, "That's not why I came to Congress. Quite simply, my constituents deserve better."